All right. Thank you very much for everyone coming. If anybody wants to sign up for public participation, please feel free to come up now, but I would like to call the regular school committee meeting for May 9th, Tuesday, May 9th, 2023 to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Manolo. Ms. Carney. Mr. Charbonneau. Ms. Doobie. Ms. Fernandez. Ms. Grant. Mr. Shalal.
I'm here. May I please ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Can we please start off with the special reports for students, from, we're going to start with Charles E. Shea Senior High School.
Hello, everyone. My name is Glenara Santos. I am a junior at Shea, and here are our Shea happenings. To begin with, our guidance department continues to share information about career opportunities and bring in colleges and universities during our advisory periods. AP testing began last week and continues tomorrow with AP Spanish Language and Culture. Many scholarship opportunities have been presented to our seniors. Senior supper will take place at Shea next Monday, the 15th, and will be hosted by our very own staff to honor our students. Students received their ASVAB results last week. Shea Fashion held our annual fashion show, and it was an incredible success. Shout out to Willie, Miss McHale, and all the other people involved in making the show the best one yet. For Teacher Appreciation Week, the Student Council had begun a little project to show the teachers at least half of the love that they show us. And also a happy Teacher Appreciation Week to all the amazing educators here who shape students like me into their best selves. We love and value you. May 3rd, last week, was May Arts Night. Thank you to those who came to support our Shea Raider artists. Prom tickets are now on sale. No tickets will be sold after the week of May 15th. Shea students participated and won first place in the Advanced Division of Rhode Island's 3rd Annual Regional High School Wind Turbine Competition on April 29th, 2023 at the Community College of Rhode Island. Students received an invitation to attend the National Kidwind competition in Boulder, Colorado at the University of Colorado, May 14th to 17th, 2023. Students on the first place winning team are Anicia Centeno Morera, Camilo De Rosa, Milton Martins, and Edwin Guevara Garcia. Decision Day was last Friday and it was an incredible success. We are so proud of our Shea Raiders on the big steps they're taking for their future. The Shea girls track team put their best performance of the year at the division championships this past Saturday. The relay team, Di Carvalho, Delegado, Zayas, and Kamara medaled and placed 5th in the division with a time of 55.3 seconds. The boys track team earned numerous medals at the Eastern Division Championship meet on Saturday. Tyrell O'Connor won the 100-meter dash with Rhode Island top 10 time of 11.08 seconds. Congratulations to our unified basketball team on their winning over Mount Pleasant last week. They won 37-36. We would like to congratulate all our players on a great regular season. They start playoffs this week versus Cranston West. The game will be played on May 11th at Cranston West High School. Game time is 4:30. Finally, the Pawtucket tennis team takes another victory, this time against Burrillville. First doubles also had a long match, losing their first set with a comeback for the second set decided under the tiebreaker. Then another tiebreaker for the third set, clinching the victory, beating Burrillville 7-0. With no losses on our side. The Pawtucket tennis team is in the playoffs starting May 16th, their last home match. That is all. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Can we have the Tolman Senior High School representative, student representative?
Hello, my name is Dylan Brulette. I'm a junior at Tolman High School, and I'm here speaking on behalf of Tolman. First off, the PSATs and SATs were administered to all sophomores and juniors respectively on April 19th. Tolman seniors celebrated Decision Day on Thursday, May 4th. Seniors were celebrated for their commitments to four-year colleges, community colleges, the armed forces, and various other career pathways. Over 20 vendors were present to provide information to our seniors. AP testing began on May 1st. This year, Tillman has over 135 students registered to take more than 175 exams. Good luck to these students as they work to earn 3 college credits. On April 29th, several Tillman students participated in the Shea Fashion Show. This was another great example of students from both high schools collaborating for a memorable event. On Friday, April 21st, Ivy Parr, along with myself, participated in the visioning workshop to design the new unified high school. And lastly, the Tillman senior class and junior class held a car wash fundraiser on Saturday, May 6th. The event raised $500 to assist with our junior and senior events. Thank you.
You're very much. Can we have the student representative for Jackman Walsh School?
Hi, my name is Princess Acquia, and I'm a senior video and film major at the Jacqueline M. Walsh School for the Arts. We had a wonderful school-wide performance by Brown and Trinity, which was fantastic and enjoyed by all. Last week, we had Judge John McBurney, Judge Joseph McBurney, Attorney Mary McBurney, Attorney Mackenzie McBurney, and our school SRO officer Summer speak to students for Law Day. Some of our students participated in the Shea Fashion Show by dancing, filming the event, and modeling. We loved kicking off the spring events with the District May Arts Night and our Tri-M Music Honors Recital. Tomorrow evening is our senior music recital at the Music Mansion in Providence. On Thursday, our junior and senior theater majors will be going to the GAM for their final performance and talkback of the year. Our senior theater showcase is on Monday, May 15th at 6 p.m. in the JMW Auditorium. We have a PTO Uncle Tony's fundraiser on May 16th, and prom is on Friday, May 19th at Hope Events on Main, and our theme is Greek mythology. On May 25th, we have our spring dance and chorus concert in the auditorium at 6 p.m. Friday, May 26th, we have our chorus who will be performing at the Trills and Thrills Festival. Our honors night will be in the auditorium at 6 p.m. on May 31st. The following night is the second annual JMW Film Festival and Art Showcase, where student art will be displayed, and we will have a screening of films in the auditorium. This event will begin at 5:30, with films beginning around 6:30 in the auditorium. On Monday, June 5th, our senior art majors will have their formal showcase to display their portfolios and final projects. Our production of Peter and Wendy goes up on June 6th and 7th with an in-school performance for our neighbors in 3rd through 5th grade at Agnes Little on June 6th. June 7th, we are excited to have an assembly with the members of the Newport Jazz Festival Band coming to perform for our students. And last but not least, our class of 2023 graduation ceremony will be held here at JMW in the auditorium on Friday, June 9th. Thank you for your time and for all you do. Junior visual art major Sarah Souza will be taking over after our graduation.
Thank you very much. All right, at this time, I'm gonna have the superintendent. You wanna go at the podium? We have two very special, we're gonna recognize two special groups right now.
Ash and Ms. Jones, if they would come over to the podium. On April 29th, 5 Shea High School students, under the leadership of teacher Berta Jones, participated in the Rhode Island High School Wind Turbine and Can Win competition at the Community College of Rhode Island in Warwick. These 5 students placed first in the Kid Win division and have been invited to compete at the Kid Win National Competition, May 17th to 15th to the 17th in Boulder, Colorado. At this time, we would like to congratulate and recognize these students for their outstanding performance and wish them the best of luck in their competition at the national level.
All right, so first we have the glue of the team, who's a phenomenal teacher We love her to death and she's just fantastic. And I can't tell you how thrilled we are for you to be at Shea, but in the city of Pawtucket for our kids. So we would like to award the certificate to Miss Verda Jones. And now we have our team. And it's no doubt, we won. We're good. Oh, let's see. Oh, I need my glasses. All right. First, please, round of applause for Edwin Govera Garcia. Next, we have Nilton Martins. Next, for one of our students that could not make it tonight, but let's give him a round of applause, Camilio DeRosa. And finally, girl power, Anicia Centeo Morea. And Verda Jones would like to say a little. Come on, Verda.
Good evening, everyone. Really just excited about the opportunity to work with the students at Shea in the engineering program. So basically, you know that the class that this is part of is actually part of the CTE program, and it is a community college, Rhode Island college level course. So the students, at least some of them, will be getting college credit because it's the same curriculum that CCRI teaches as part of their engineering, introduction to engineering wind turbine class. We are excited that on Sunday, that we'll be leaving out of Boston and traveling to Boulder, Colorado to participate in the national Kid Win competition. This is our first year winning, actually, third year that we've been part of the competition, but we always got honorable mention. But we had some amazing students this year. They worked diligent, and we decided that, hey, we wanted to go to Houston, Texas. All right, so we're going to Boulder, Colorado. Last year was in Houston, Texas, but they remind me, Ms. Jones, you said we were going to Houston, Texas. So anyway, we're going to Boulder, Colorado, and we're really excited about it. Thank you. And that's it.
Nice job, guys. Nice job, team.
Next, we have an award or citation for one of our school administrators. On April 21st, Mr. Matt Bergeron, the principal of Goff Junior High School, was awarded the Rhode Island Music Educators Administrators Award. He was nominated by Mr. Dupree and Mr. McCarlin, music teachers at the school. Mr. Bergeron was nominated and won this award not only for supporting the rebuilding of the music program after COVID, but also for his continued support and commitment to music education. On behalf of the Pawtucket School Department, I would like to thank Principal Bergeron for a significant and lasting contribution to music education. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very, very much for those very exciting and incredible things that are happening here in this school district. Public participation. May I please have the first one to sign up is Kim? Kim Souza?
Good evening. My name is Kimberly Souza, and I'm the president of the Northern Rhode Island Collaborative Employees Union. Just get my notes. All right. I'm aware that you all voted to dissolve the NRIC. I'm here to ask you to give us the gift of time. We are diligently working with the Pride and state leaders to develop another oversight model which would protect districts from any financial liability. We would like 1 year to develop this model since things unraveled quickly when all districts withdrew in December. Over the years, the NRIC has done an outstanding job meeting the needs of students from Pawtucket, and we would like to continue to do so. We are pleading that this Pawtucket School Committee reconsider their withdrawal from the NRIC. The plan of dissolution has a modification or abandonment of the plan where you could be the heroes of all the Northern Rhode Island Collaborative students. Again, I thank you for your time, and I hope you listen and we're allowed to be heard. Thank you.
Kim, that was Kim Souza. May I please have Hannah? Hannah,
Hi, that is much louder than I expected. My name is Hannah Loeb. I am a music teacher, the first music teacher to ever work at the Northern Rhode Island Collaborative. And like my colleague Kim, I'm here to implore you to keep us open. You know the stakes. You know who we serve. We serve Pawtucket's neediest students, Rhode Island's neediest students. You know the students who you refer to us. These are the students who are unable to learn until they come to us. And I'm certain by now you're aware of the fears that our students have and their families and our teachers have regarding the fate of these students should we close. Like I said, you're aware of the stakes by now. I have no doubt that if the collaborative students return to Pawtucket, their education will be in the hands of professionals who are talented, compassionate, loving, and dedicated. I have no doubt that said professionals will do their absolute best to prepare our students to lead lives filled with meaning and contentment and stability. I do not say these things about Pawtucket teachers as an attempt at flattery or profession of faith, but a statement of fact, one that I am entitled to make because for 3 years, I was one of them. I taught general music and chorus at Goff Middle School before Matt Bergeron's time there. I was at Goff for 1 year, 2016, 2017, and then at Baldwin for 2 years following. At both schools, I was welcomed by incredible teachers who supported me. They were kind, they were talented, they were compassionate, they were dedicated. They made me feel very much at home. And I can't thank them enough for what Pawtucket schools have done for me as a teacher. The collaborative is in some ways rather like the schools I taught in Pawtucket, actually more similar to other schools I've taught in general. For example, at the collaborative, we have complaints, we face inconveniences. It's inevitable. We're human. No matter what the institution is, people complain. But at the collaborative, we are able to easily and regularly find and demonstrate gratitude and joy. Like any other school, like the schools I taught in Pawtucket, we have moments where things are messy and chaotic. Given the challenges our students face, I suspect this happens more at our school than at other traditional schools, certainly more than at the schools I taught in Pawtucket. Yet both the staff and the atmosphere at the collaborative are incredibly calm. Like any school at the collaborative, we have times when we feel powerless, when issues far beyond our control impact our ability to teach. This is an inevitable part of working in education. It is one of the hardest parts of the job, and it is something that I have seen teachers struggle with everywhere I have taught, and I have seen teachers who even everywhere I haven't taught. You find ways to work around it. You make do with patchwork solutions, and I do not just speak about the collaborative, but all teachers. At the collaborative and at my schools in Pawtucket, those teachers were creative and resilient and passionate educators, just like those I worked with here. I was an inexperienced baby-faced teacher when I started at Goff, unlike now when I'm slightly older, slightly more experienced, and still slightly baby-faced. At Baldwin, or rather, excuse me, in my first year at Goff, I grew close to my teacher mentors. I would not have gotten through my year without them. At Baldwin, I was welcomed and loved by my colleagues for who I was, a young and inexperienced teacher who was dedicated and determined to grow. They supported me when I struggled. They welcomed me into their classrooms to teach and to learn from their example. They showed me how to teach when the odds are stacked against both students and teachers, how to stay calm in the midst of chaos. They demonstrated resilience and creativity, and they showed me how to find joy in the small moments and laugh at the absurdities of teaching. I learned these qualities from Pawtucket teachers, and they have served me very well at the collaborative. Without their example, I would not be the successful and confident teacher I've become. And yet the qualities exhibited by these teachers cannot compensate for the fact that the institution that these teachers worked for was frankly not designed to accommodate the needs of every single student, not because of any faults in Pawtucket schools, not because of anything done deliberately, but just because the needs of the students at the collaborative are so drastically different from the majority of the population that no amount of funding or increase in staff or love and talent and dedication and compassion from a teacher can change that. This is not to say that Pawtucket schools are better or worse than the collaborative, merely different. It is not for effort, not for lack of effort on the part of Pawtucket teachers that students who come to the collaborative were unable to thrive here. You heard Kim speak before. Legislatively and administrative leaders at the State House and at RIDE have expressed a strong desire to keep us open, and our union is working with them. We have asked our board for one more year to remain on the board, just to provide us enough time to come up with a plan to continue servicing these students. A plan that it would benefit Pawtucket students, and not just the ones that we have, but the ones we don't have, the ones who are maybe not able to receive, would not be able to receive the same quality of services if our students returned. At your March board meeting, several of you expressed regret that you voted to withdraw from the collaborative. And it was said by, I don't remember who, that if anything, Pawtucket should be leading the way in the effort to continue providing a quality education to Rhode Island's most vulnerable students. And you have that power in your hands. It was made clear at the most recent NRIC board meeting that the dissolution plan that our board voted on could be stopped or reversed at any time. It was also clear that our board of superintendents, the individual members, could not act without the authorization of their respective school committees. And it is for that reason that I and Kim are speaking to you this evening. If even one member of our board of superintendents remains, we will stay open. You can vote to rescind your letter of withdrawal from the collaborative. You have the power to keep us open. You have the power to enable us to continue providing services, providing hope and a bright future to Pawtucket students, to Rhode Island students who are unable to learn in traditional schools. You have the power not only to lead, but to teach by example, much like Pawtucket teachers did for me. And I implore you to use that power and set an example. Thank you.
Okay, next, Eloise Hodge.
Hello. My name's Eloise Hodge, and I'm the district nurse for Pawtucket. I was hired in January of this year. I'm here tonight on behalf of myself and the other Pawtucket registered nurses to discuss the need to retain my position as district nurse. I have a letter written and signed by your regarded registered nurses. Dear School Committee, we are writing in support of retaining the district nurse position that is being eliminated for the next school year. This past January 2023, a district nurse position was created in Pawtucket to help with the overwhelming demands put on the nurses, in part due to the pandemic, but also due to increased medical needs of our student population. The district nurse has been instrumental in covering absences when no subs are available, helping with the dental, vision, and scoliosis screenings, helping with getting consents for the Vaccinate Before You Graduate program for our secondary students, helping with health records for our pre-K and newly registered students, covering the health office when the nurses are writing healthcare plans, teaching classes such as puberty, updating health records, etc., helping with sending and requesting health records for transfer students from other districts. For the 2022-2023 school year, prior to the hiring of a district nurse in January, there were 35 uncovered days when a school did not have a nurse in the building. After a district nurse was hired in January of 2023, there were only 5 uncovered days when a school did not have a nurse in the building. This has not only kept our school children safer, but also put less burden on the staff to manage medical issues without a nurse in the building. This is one of the first years that we are on track to complete all the mandated dental, vision, and scoliosis screenings in all our schools. In the past, it has not been possible due to the lack of help with these screenings. Having a district nurse in Pawtucket helped to increase the vaccination compliance rate for our secondary students this year. Many districts throughout the state have a district nurse or similar position. There are so many different ways the district nurse has been an asset to the health and welfare of our students. If Pawtucket truly values the importance of student well-being, we will find the funds to keep a district nurse in Pawtucket. Thank you for your time. I was going to read all the names, just Kathleen Kando, Agnes Little School, Colleen McMichael, Tolman Nurse, Kristen Barry, Potter Burns School Nurse, William Woods, Curtis Nurse, Judith Aurelio, Cunningham School Nurse, Paula Seymour, Shea Nurse, Elizabeth Ferreira, Verrier School Nurse, Laura Chadwick, Goff Nurse, Jordan Pino, Slater School Nurse, Maura Boragine, Jenks, JMW Nurse, Mary Beth Dawes, Winters Nurse, and Deb Metataxis, Baldwin Nurse. Thank you.
May I please get a motion to approve the previous minutes, meeting minutes from April 27, 2023's meeting? Motion by Ms. Manolo, seconded by Deputy Chair Grant. Any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? On the new business discussion action item, first item is going to be the approval of, can I have a motion for the approval of non-renewal termination of certified staff for discussion? Can I get a motion for approval? Motion by Committee Member Carney, seconded by Mr. Charbonneau, Committee Member Charbonneau. Discussion, Ms. Superintendent?
I'm just asking the school committee to approve this list of 31 teachers, for non-renewal.
I have not calling, I have, did I miscount? I have 32. I might have miscounted. But 31. Oh, you said 30, then I miscounted. All right, no problem. Don't go away for math. Any discussion? Mr. Charbonneau?
Is this the complete list? Or are these funded through local or ESSER funds?
To say at this time, it's a combination of the two. This list is complete as of today, as we know it. We haven't really gone into the local budget yet. This is mostly grant
Okay,
positions.
and on the reasons, we were provided, everyone was 1 or 3. A teacher returning from a leave of absence, or a regular teacher may elect to fill the position, or it's anticipated that there'll be fewer teaching positions in the area. So specifically to the nurse, the district nurse, he doesn't fall into either of those 1 or 3. Does she? It sounds like, right, it sounds like due to the uncertainty of the funding level would be,
Or fewer teacher positions in that area, so it would be a 3.
so and maybe it's me, but 3 and 4 seem to be 3 seems to be the politically correct way of giving an explanation, and 4 seems to be, you know, I just don't see the difference in 3 and 4. That's all. And when we were provided that they were all 1 or 3, clearly the district nurse, I would think, falls because of a lack of funding.
My understanding of 3, at least as it's been explained to me in the past, is that it's usually due to enrollment, as in there are, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but that, you know, maybe we had 4 third-grade classrooms last year in this school, and now we have 3 third-grade classrooms because we have fewer students. So there will be fewer teaching positions in the area. And to Mr. Charbonneau's point, that 4 is, we'd love to have this additional person in our school, but we don't have the funding for them. As opposed to 3, which is, we don't actually have the kids for them to teach. And that's how I've always understood the difference between the 2. And so, to Mr. Charbonneau's point, are these all, we don't have places for them, or we don't have the money to pay for them?
I would say at this time, again, it's a combination of both.
Of 3 and 4 and 1?
One and 3. And it could be 4 too, but I'm thinking it's more 3. Because right now we're looking at positions that are needed, the FTEs that are needed in the district to support the students. And what happens is when we find that we have to close a classroom, it depends on their certification. So that teacher that we're closing, she might not necessarily get the pay somebody below her would. Because there has to be room for her to fit into a job based on seniority.
Is in regards to the nursing position. Seeing that it's a district position, no schools are closing, and there's going to be a nurse at each school. So that situation isn't going to be changing. So if the nurses are out, or if we still have to do screenings, they're still going to need the support of a district nurse to do it. So I'm not really sure how we can really justify losing that position when we don't, I'm assuming we don't have substitute nurses who come in and if a nurse, I'm assuming they either take a nurse from a school and leave a school empty, or they do half and half. And you know, I have to be honest with you. I received a phone call this year from a mom. Her child fractured their growth plate. They were playing in the schoolyard or whatever. It was an elementary school, and there was no nurse at the school, and no one called 911. There was no one there to really analyze the situation. The student ended up being out of school for quite a while due to that situation because they just kind of sat in the office. So, like I said, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of justification, and it does seem like if there are nurses, just like teachers, I know we've always really pushed, you know, instead of splitting the students up, we prefer to have substitutes or someone in the classroom, you know, helping support the class. My second question is, Mr. Charbonneau asked about if these were ESSER or if they were from the budget. You mentioned probably mostly that you still kind of had to get into the budget. How many teachers are still sitting on our ESSER that we haven't or might not be noticing? Because that's a huge concern.
Explain further what my response about these teachers could be an either or. It might be that we eliminated a position that was in the ESSER grant, but because of seniority purposes, the teacher that is getting laid off might be in, right now in a local budget. So that's why I said I can't, because the teacher that we eliminated might have come from a grant. But they might be the most senior teacher, so somebody below them. So these people, I'm not quite sure, they could be in the lower budget. And
Oh,
answer-
okay. And then the other question is, how many teachers do we have
I will know
on
that
ESSER?
tomorrow
Oh,
at 1:30. That's our next meeting to finalize the ESSER grants.
okay,
Okay.
all right. Thanks.
What is, what is the reason for eliminating a social worker position?
Would be,
Yeah, why would we eliminate a social worker position or even an MLL position when we know those are two areas that our students really need support in?
it could be that the job changed, it could be the MML positions, it could be that it's going to move to a secondary level. There's a lot of reasons why different jobs get closed and different jobs open up. It depends on the population and the needs of the students. So as far as the social work, I can't answer that right now. I'd have to go back and look at the paperwork, but I certainly will give you the answer as to why we felt that it could be closed. And it might have been that it was in a grant and it was already being funded and there was no funding for it next year. That could possibly be it too. So
But specific to these five, you could tell me that.
it could be
You don't
just
know.
fewer positions are needed based on whatever the program was, or it could be the funding. I'm not sure about the funding right now, but I'm going to say that it was probably due to fewer positions were needed in that area. All right, I don't know the answer to that question right now.
I just want to say as a current educator and a former classroom teacher, I understand the stress that is placed on teachers. I was laid off, I think, every year for my first 10 years as an educator. And so I also was called back most of those years. So I'm hoping that, once things settle, we see, possible surprise retirements or our enrollment numbers go up, that we will hopefully be able to have a vote to bring these teachers back at the end of the summer. So I just wanted to say, should some of these positions not be replaced, that forever grateful and empathetic towards the situation and how you're feeling in this moment. So.
Conversation, any discussion? Mr. Charbonneau.
Superintendent, a clarification, a lot of pre-K state model. And is that just reduction in, are we losing a pre-K classroom?
I don't think so, no.
Just, we're losing 2 pre-K teachers at Green, but we're not losing a classroom? Am I looking at?
If she answers.
If she has the answer.
So if someone at, say, a secondary level is an English teacher and we're eliminating an English position, but they still are art, they might hold art certification or they might hold something else. So we have to make sure below them that there is a position for them. So we might have to lay off people that hold similar certifications so that we can guarantee that that person with the most certification will be guaranteed a job. So that's why you see stuff like this happening. Even though it's a PK, there might be somebody that needs that position that is hired in the seniority list that holds that certification.
I just worry, I mean, we're hearing that RIDE is putting on a job fair and actively hiring and I don't want to be in a situation in July where we find out we have 30 open positions because we've done all of this now.
Historically, the people on this list have been recalled to their positions all the time. We just have to ensure that those are available for people that are hired, that have been closed, but hold those certifications. So there's a good possibility that these teachers would be going back into their positions.
Okay.
So, my question was actually answered, but I kind of want to segue a little bit on what, Mr. Charbonneau stated. You know, the last few years, because things have been good, we haven't really done layoffs. So things, you know, and a lot of these people are probably new. So there's probably a lot of people who aren't really familiar with what the process is. So I think, and I could be wrong, Mr. Charbonneau, but I think the concern is we could lose some good people. It, you know, if, you know, we find that, I'm just wondering why, I know we have until the end of the month, but why we don't, why all of them weren't brought to us at one time. I understand there was a change, there's been changes in leadership. But I'm just wondering why, the ESSA, the budget, all of that wasn't, those employees weren't brought to us all at one time for us to vote on.
Because I've been here for 6 days.
Yeah.
We've been working, we've put in.
Oh, well, I'm not doubting that,
Well,
but I'm
Melissa's
just,
been glued to
yeah,
my
yeah.
hair.
and I understand that,
Miss
but I guess
Rabbit.
what I'm wondering is if there are gonna be more, why didn't we just kind of hold off on this and wait and just bring it to our next meeting?
No, that's difficult to do.
And can I ask why? I don't understand the process, so why is it difficult to do?
I'm not saying that more won't be brought forward, but I think just for peace of mind of the teachers to try to give them some answers before the end of the school year. So that you know, we try to work with them as much as possible to try to keep them in their positions that they're in. And they have a lot of nice mechanisms now with the waivers and things like that, that give the people the opportunity to stay there. So this is very anxiety producing, but we need time to work with these teachers and to see if there are positions that we can recall them back in before the school year. So the sooner we do it, the better off the district is, I think, because we could start recalling some of them back in as soon as we know that people aren't going to move after the mini pools and that they have. The sooner we do it, the less anxiety producing for the teachers it is. So yes, this could be it, and we could have 3 or 4 more at the next meeting. I'm not sure yet. We'll know more, but I'm going to say this is the majority.
That you'll know whether or not they're gonna be recalled back.
What's the date of the pool? June 23rd. We'll have a lot of pretty good answers by then.
But we have to notify them all. Anyone we're gonna lay off. Thanks.
Thank you.
Ms. Manola?
Historically, long time ago, they used to lay off, I think 1 year, 143.
1 year, almost 200.
107. Where we were putting pink slips out to protect the district's finances
Right.
and to give the flexibility of keeping seniority primary, which is part of the union contract. So the fact that we have 30 some odd is not good, but it is good. And historically, we have called the majority of the teachers back. So I think, I know it's stressful, and I've talked to a lot of teachers who have been pink slipped over the years, and I do realize it's stressful. But we have to make sure that we have the right teachers in the right places at the right time. And if this is the beginning, then this is the beginning. And if we can bring them back, it'd be great to bring them all back. And we will probably know more before the end of June.
Any other discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Manolo, Ms. Carney, Mr. Charbonneau, Ms. Doobie, Ms. Fernandez, Ms. Grant, Mr. Shalal.
Yes. May I please have a motion for approval of budget transfer? Motion by Deputy Chair Grant, seconded by Ms. Fernandez. Melissa?
Good evening. We have one budget transfer before you this evening for Tolman High School. It is for the cost of the GED program that was put into law this year. And this is for 3 students at the CCAP, and it's $22,750, moving that from electronic textbooks to other purchase professional services.
Discussion? No. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Charbonneau, Ms. Doobie, Ms. Fernandez, Ms. Grant, Mr. Shalal.
Yes. Yep. All right, can I have a motion to approve field trip for the, we have to approve a field trip of the school committee. We know what field trip this is. This will be the wonderful opportunity to send Shea High School students out to Boulder, Colorado. Can I have a motion to approve the field? A motion by Ms. Manolo, seconded by Deputy Chair Grant. Discussion. Mr. Charbonneau.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to recognize the North Kingstown Chamber of Commerce, who has secured the fundings to send our students there, and for hosting the event with Orsted and TPI Composites. I think all 3 of those organizations deserve recognition for funding the trip. Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Ms. Manolo, Ms. Carney, Mr. Charbonneau, Ms. Doobie, Ms. Fernandez, Ms. Grant, Mr. Shalal.
Yes. Thank you. All right. Have a motion to approve the Baldwin Design Development Review and approval to submit to RIDE. Motion by Ms. Manolo, seconded by Ms. Grant. Discussion. Jared? Derek, perfect. Derek?
Everyone. So earlier this evening, we presented to the school building committee the status on the Baldwin Elementary School. Just one moment. My computer was running a little low, so I'm just firing it back up. But by way of introduction, what we're going to be asking for this evening is that you allow the design team to submit the design development package to the Department of Education. This allows them to review those documents in tandem with the district's review of those documents. Feedback will be incorporated from both the district as well as RIDE as the construction documents continue. As part of that, it is important to note that we are still very much working on getting to a place where we have fulfilled an expected budget shortfall. So let me just pull my notes. So based on what we're looking at to date, the current RIDE approved budget with a memorandum of agreement that guarantees housing aid is just over $61 million at $61,636, $645. So 61,636, 645, based on estimates. And we're already starting to see some improvement. So this number is going down already, but based on current estimates, we're looking at a need of $68,378,083 and some odd cents. This creates a budget shortfall projected to be approximately $6.7 million. So that budget shortfall is not in fact a true shortfall, but simply a shortfall in what has been approved for reimbursement through the housing aid program. With that in mind, your chief financial officer and I have been meeting with RIDE as frequently as they will see us. We are working towards a solution because, as I'm sure you're very much aware, there is no shortage of approval overall here in Pawtucket in terms of construction and housing aid funding. There are also a number of other funding and finance vehicles that have been afforded through COVID and through other means. And so at this point, we are in active discussions with RIDE. Certainly Melissa will correct me, but I believe a request has gone out or will be going out to RIDE to request a meeting to continue those conversations. And I can tell you that while I don't love this challenge, it's not of any of our making. Basically, the shortfall is nearly equal to what we saw in inflation over the past year, and is something that if we were to begin anew, had we never had this project approved initially and were to have it approved now, the current budget as projected would be within the Rhode Island guidelines and would receive full housing aid support. So with all of that in mind, I think we have a clear picture of what needs to happen and a case to be made, as well as what historically anyway has been a good partnership with the Department of Aid at School Building Authority, at least as long as I've been with you all, coming on nearly a decade at this point. So while it's a challenge, we've certainly faced challenges as a group before. And we have essentially until substantial completion to make sure that the housing aid is secured, which gives us, though I wouldn't want to use all of this time, probably 18 to 24 months to solve this puzzle. So with that in mind, the design team is going to offer a presentation about what the design documents look like. I believe Louis Tirado will be giving that portion of the information, but wanted to at least come to you with the update on the budget, and happy to take any questions as best I can.
Discussion, everybody should agree, then Mr. Charbonneau.
So, Jared, you just stated we're short approximately $6.7 million. We just received an email, I don't know, last night, the night before, that this is excluding the playground. So if this excludes the playground, am I reading this incorrectly? Wouldn't it make us be shorter, more money? Is that a word?
Yes, yeah.
So wouldn't we be short more than $6.7 million?
Yeah, the differential could grow with the re-addition of the playground. There are also what we're working very hard on, in addition to getting to the baseline and filling that gap, is over the last couple of years, RIDE has come out with a number of specially targeted funding programs. And because the playground can be released, exercised, funded, supported at any given time, there's a number of vehicles to try and secure funding for the playground that perhaps even give us a bit more time. So, for example, should another special program emerge, we could look for funding that way. I suspect one of the things we're likely to talk to RIDE about is you have a new stage 2 going in to support the unified high school. Perhaps they would entertain specific targeted funding for the playground or other scopes of work associated with this project as part of a new approval, which we would have by the end of this calendar year. So we are working as hard as we possibly can at every angle to try and secure those funds.
So didn't we just apply for playground grants through RIDE for Baldwin, Curtis, and Cunningham and get denied for Baldwin?
We did in fact in this round get denied for Baldwin. Melissa looks like she
So
may have something
shouldn't
she
we
wants to
just
say.
be a little nervous or a little concerned?
So if I may, yes, RIDE did tell us to apply for the playground through the FEI that came out this year, and then unbeknownst to me, it was done at a meeting that I wasn't asked, and so they said, put it in there, and I said, it doesn't make really any sense, because the approvals that are on file at RIDE are all from the same bucket, so if they're not gonna approve it as part of the school, how are they gonna approve it? So when they came out, they had said that they did not approve any additional funding for Baldwin because it was a new construction and they wanted to target the playgrounds at the schools that were being, they were trying to spread the funds around. So I didn't understand why they asked us to in the first place, but from what we understand is we've reached out and asked for a meeting to see if we can come up with some ideas on how they would let us use some of these other funding sources. So when I heard you mention that, the playground, you were at 100% right. We were asked to apply, put it into FEI, and we did, and we were denied. So yeah, are we nervous? Yes, we are definitely nervous, but we're not going to give up. And, I won't give up. I know the superintendent has been standing by my side. The assistant superintendents were with John Cody. We're all together, our OPM, and we're going to keep going at this because Pawtucket deserves it. And we're going to just look at avenues. I'm looking at the Rhode Island Office of Energy Resources. They did get back to me. That was one of the other places they asked me to look. They did say right now that their funding is only for rehab and not new construction. So we're looking all over the place. We're not going to give up. And while it's really nerve-wracking that we can't get this done right away. I like all the T's and I's done. We are not going to give up. We're going to continue. So yes, to answer your question, we are nervous. I am especially nervous, but we will not give up.
Thank you.
Mr. Charbonneau?
Derek, you said we're at 61 million for Baldwin?
So yeah, so the RIDE approved budget currently stands at 61.6 million. The total anticipated need is 68.3 million.
Right, so refresh my memory how we got to 61 million. That wasn't, what was the initial allocated from the initial bond for Baldwin?
Yeah. So yeah, great question. It's been a bit of a journey. The original allocated was approaching 59 million. It was 58.96 and on. That was based on what we had requested, what wasn't ultimately funded in the first round, but then additional funding was then provided after the fact. So we had gone in, as is fairly typical with a stage 2, with a target number. They had cut that, as memory serves, probably by about 10%, which is roughly the types of cuts they were doing at the time. We later were able to secure additional funding. I think in this case, it was justified around the focus on pre-K and early elementary education. And so that's really how we moved from what they had approved at 58, which is less than we requested, but what was approved. And then ultimately the reintroduction of funds to make sure that they supported your pre-K program. But there have been numerous conversations over the life of this project about what the appropriate number is and funding coming and going.
Ms. Connie?
What is the estimated cost of the playground? Well, for the one for Baldwin, the K2 and then the 3-5. So to clarify then from Ms. Manolo's point, this would be elimination of both play areas or just one of the two?
So my understanding is that it's somewhere in the middle, in that there will still be outdoor recreational space, but the full development of playground, play equipment, supporting things, kind of the surface, all of those things, if it were to be fully realized, We probably, Melissa's whispering in my ear, are looking for another $1.7 million approximately. I'd want to fact check exactly where that number was. And again, these are estimates at this time. It isn't that there won't be any space, but it will not be what you're accustomed to. And so that's where I agree. We're going to continue to fight and find the money. We are a little bit nervous, but it's been a journey to date. It'll continue to be a journey.
Can I add one thing? If I may, so the 1.7 was a number that's been in there for a while. And recently, we've been working on everyone's playground. I know that the 1.1 to 3 is actually a good sized playground. We're also looking at the FEI 2 playgrounds, and we think their budgets are a little high, so we may be able to bring that down. And then again, if we're able to bring that's another avenue that we have, you know, tucked right in here to try to see if we can do it. If we can bring down the cost of the other playgrounds that we think may have a higher budget than necessary, maybe they'll allow us. That might be one avenue that we go with. I mean, we're looking everywhere. Maybe that'll get us halfway there. And so it could be done in stages, but we have about 18 months. And as Derek mentioned, we don't want to wait that long, so we're going to continue to fight for it.
18 months to find the funding and close the gap.
Yeah, so it's two
things.
pieces.
Go ahead.
So in terms of cash, we have it. You have bond authorization, you have capital funds. That there is money to pay these bills to get what you want. What we don't have yet is a guarantee from RIDE that they will kick in their 80+%. And obviously for the differential. And obviously, when you're paying 100% versus only paying 10 or 20%, that is a huge difference. So really what we're discussing is doing right by the taxpayers and making sure that we maximize your entitlement through reimbursement and minimize local costs. But you do technically have funds either way.
With returning housing, with the current housing aid that we're getting back on projects, and then what we do is we reinvest them. So we don't want to do projects all the time that are not reinvested. I mean, that we're not getting housing aid, because then we can't reinvest. So over the next couple of years of the capital projects that we've been working on for the last few years, when those monies come back, we will grow, but there will not be room to expand in our next phase of what else we want to do down the road. We've been going gung-ho for the last 6, 7, 8 years. Like fast forward where we were 6, 7, 8 years ago, we had a small amount of projects going on. We have a ton of projects going on now. So
Is the anticipated return on the housing aid going to be close to the shortfall? Like, is there a projection of how much return or we should be getting?
So we have multiple projects, and so actually I have a meeting. It's funny that you say that, because I have a meeting next week for them to go through the housing aid. So the housing aid is done into, the city gets the housing aid for the bonded projects, and we get the housing aid, and there's 3 groups. If the project is under $1 million, we get it back the following year. If it ranges between that million and $1.5 million, it takes 2 years to get your share back. And then if it's above the $1.5 million, it takes 3 years. We're hoping that they have another mechanism where if they have cash flow, that even they'll go up to the $3 million in projects and give us it back in 1 year. Otherwise, I'm getting with Colliers and we get creative. Where can we stop a full project? Like, can we claim just the design, say, or something? Or so that way we try to keep the projects under the $1 million, if you know what I mean. So we're trying everything that we can. But this, if we are not going to, I'm not going to settle for, and I don't think anyone on the team is going to settle for us not getting most of that or all of that 6.7 plus a playground reimbursed at the full housing aid that Pawtucket deserves. We're not going to rest at that. We're just going to keep trying. So
Thank you.
Ms. Manolo?
Oh, wait, Melissa, sorry. So when we got our bond, Baldwin came under a specific program. However, the new program out there, if we were to resubmit our stage 2 to RIDE today, we would receive more than what we need to build it. However, RIDE has told us if we resubmit, they will not accept it. So they are providing other districts with this excess amount of money that they're refusing to provide to the city of Pawtucket. So if either of you would please explain that for everybody, so we know why we can't get what we deserve.
So I agree with Melissa. I am not willing to say you can't get what you deserve. What we did do, though, to your point, Ms. Spinolo, is we presented RIDE with data that would suggest that if Baldwin were to go in today as part of a stage 2 package based on the number of students, the size of the building, and the allotment of dollars per square foot that could be spent, plus all of the additional calculus that goes into them generating their approval based on their caps, the number that we came up with using their guidelines was slightly higher than our total need and ask. And so the reason we went through that exercise with them was to prove to them and us, frankly, that we are being fiscally responsible. This project costs what it costs based on current market conditions. We are not kind of going easy in terms of excess spending. There really isn't excess spending here. It's responding to the marketplace and getting the school that you want, need, and deserve. And so that's where we simply need to continue that conversation. I'm not ready to say yet that RIDE won't help us, but I also don't know quite yet which pathway they intend to illuminate to help us.
Go ahead, Mr. Charbonneau.
Spinolo's comment, because I think it's important that we've had a long history of really strong support from at least the SBA portion of RIDE. And I have to think with the partnerships that you folks have all built down there over the years, that, you know, there's a reasonable solution to this. And it seems like submitting a current day plan showing that it would cost just a little bit over our ask seems to be the reasonable solution to me. And I have to think the folks down at the SBA will work with us. So that was it.
Yeah, we're trying.
We're staying positive and we're not giving up. So we have everybody on the leadership team, working together. And we're gonna just keep going and we'll keep you informed along the way as we always do.
Any other discussion? All right, I didn't think we were gonna get this deep in this conversation, but I'm happy. I'm really happy that this committee's on top of this. So again, I proved early in the meeting that I don't have any good math skills at all. Sorry about that to my Shea teachers. But so 6.6 is what we're short without a playground.
6.7, but yes, yep,
Again, I'm proving maybe I'm not good with my English either.
Okay.
So 6.7, we're going with.
approximately.
And approximately 1.7 to put in the playground. So we're short 8.4 million dollars.
Approximately.
Does this have anything to do with the interest rates on what we're doing, or is it mostly supply chain? Is it the price of materials?
Yeah, so this is strictly inflation. So borrowing costs and sort of what has happened with interest rates are outside of this. That is something that the city will have to consider as they go forward and issue public bonds. But that's really a city issue, and they've been good partners to date on that. This is really about simply meeting the marketplace where it is with regard to the 7+% inflation that we all saw together over the last year.
And you say we have to figure this problem out within 18 to 24 months. The school's gonna open in September of 25. Again, 24 months from now, correct? Or longer. Where are we gonna come? What do you see as a forecast? What are we supposed to be looking at for these next 18 months that we find 8.3? Because I think this whole committee's on board. These students are gonna have a playground. So where are we coming up with that money?
Sure. So again, I think that the important distinction is you technically have the money. What you don't have yet is guaranteed reimbursement or entitlement coming back to you. And it's our job to say, no, we don't think that Pawtucket should be paying 100% of that portion of those costs. The state should be contributing at their typical, if not their bonus rate. And so that's really the discussion we're having, is we're asking the state to fund their piece of that differential. So you will not get to a point where you don't have the money to do the project. It will just cost you more than we believe it needs to. And so really, this is about working with kind of state bureaucracy, if you will, about where the pathways are to get that piece, the entitlement piece.
And it will close the door, on future things that we would be using.
If we have to dump,
83
if we have to dip
90%.
into that, correct?
Right, it's gonna pretty much level, and we wouldn't be able to continue doing some of those other projects or opportunities that come up with FEI, and we have a small percentage to pay from the school committee's end. Those projects will likely go, we will make this happen,
All right.
but it may stop the projects unless we can build up some more capital.
I know this, most of the members for you are used to building these buildings. I'm not. So when I hear we're short 6.6 this early on, yeah, I'm nervous. But you guys don't seem as nervous, which is good. That means you guys good leaders here. I think we should get updates every 3 months on where you are. Is that reasonable to ask? Do you get into it that much within 3 months? Oh, hey, listen, we found a funding source here, or is that possible? Or am I not speaking?
Possible. So based on, I can only, so I'm like any other advisor around finances. I can only give you a prediction based on past events.
Okay.
And in the past, when we've had problems of this magnitude, a solution that's nearly or completely encompassing will just arrive. And whether it arrives in the next 3 months, or if it arrives in months 4 through 6 or 9 through 12, I
better not go past that, because I might.
yeah, I don't know when the solution will arrive, but more likely than not, a solution will just present itself and take care of it.
All right.
Be
All right.
confident, optimistic, positive, because they have always supported Pawtucket. And there is, I think that it's not that they're not supporting us, there are a lot more districts, in the game right now.
Right.
So we were like only souls like us in Providence, maybe with Socket, Central Falls, but everybody's out there now. And so they have to share all that support with everybody else, but we keep reminding them that, hey, remember us? We were number one. Don't forget us. I never go away. So.
Okay. All right. Any, Deputy Chair Grant?
I don't know if it was a slip of the tongue or if I'm hearing it or remembering it differently. I remember when Chris Spiegel was here, and I know prior to Chris, we were looking at September 2024, and then Chris mentioned that we were going to get pushed back to maybe the fall of 2024, but Chairman Shalal mentioned not opening till September of 2025 for Baldwin.
So I would, because I was sent in for the team, Jared's out at a funeral. I have not really fully engrossed myself with the schedule currently, but that does sound right, though I will fact check it for you because I don't want to give you misinformation. I can tell you that kind of delays in discussions with RIDE, delays in funding, delays based on COVID, all of these other things have impacted schedules. I know at one point there was discussion about the schedule was starting to move. Did it make sense to try and re-enter over a winter break as opposed to in the fall? Likely that proved to not be feasible or possible. So I don't know that the construction duration has gotten any longer, but the things we've had to go through to even get to where we are now in terms of getting to a budget, getting to understanding with RIDE, getting to a place where we can move has definitely cost you time. And again, this is not of our making. This has been the process on this project.
And I just bring it up because this is the first time I had heard it. So,
Yeah, let me.
and I'm on facilities and again, I did miss the meeting tonight, but I've been at all the facility meetings and all the school committee meetings. So this just comes as a shock to me,
Sure.
hearing that we're pushed back to September of 2025.
So let me fact check it and we'll give you, yeah.
Let me I'm gonna throw myself under the bus. I'm literally doing it by just not having no clue about it, but there's no building being built. You're not gonna have kids in there in September of 24, as far as I know, right? I mean, none of you have told me. I've not heard September 25. That's just me just an assumption. So Kim, please, I do apologize. I am under the assumption we're looking at September 24, 25. I just threw it out there.
And I'll,
So
Yeah, I'm
I
just
don't know
curious,
any.
because
yeah,
I think as a group, we need to plan and we need to know this type of thing. I just didn't know if it was a slip of the tongue or if I had missed something.
I'll fact check and we'll report out officially, because like
Thank
I
you.
said, I
hope
I
it's earlier.
don't
Really
know
sorry.
the schedule.
Thank
I-
you.
Yeah.
All right, so now, any more discuss, Jack, Mr. Charbonneau?
Yeah, one, I apologize. That threw me too. A year delay. But then you mentioned delays in meeting with RIDE, delays in funding. What delays in funding?
So I definitely need to go back and look at the schedule before I report out. So I know there've been a series of things, but I am definitely not prepared to give you an update on the schedule or the events that precipitated any movement tonight. But that certainly doesn't mean that we can't. I'm not in a position to give you good and accurate information standing here right now.
But can I jump in? If I think what Jay's asking, the delayed in funding, I think you were referencing going back and trying to get them to add in the funding that was short to be included, and they said, no, we're cutting it at this. I think that's what he meant by funding, not that we're not getting funding for the building. It's just-
locally.
But you're here tonight saying we have 18 months to figure that out. So,
From this point, right?
right, okay, so the project shouldn't be delayed a year to get that section of it resolved if you got 18 months to figure that piece
Right.
out.
Yeah, again, let me take a look at it and have the
All right,
team
I-
report out.
Yeah, I think we need it sooner than later if we're talking about a year delay.
Again, I threw that
That-
date out there with
Yeah, I
no
think Right, I
knowledge.
think that's right. The last date I recall was the mid-year,
Yeah.
the one that you said.
Up here saying that.
That was the last date I remember.
You know, the kids being able to get into September. So he kind of said like maybe around Thanksgiving.
Yeah, in the winter.
But
winter
then when Chairman
remember
Shalal
that.
mentioned it, I was like, whoa, 2025. You know, I was just a little caught off guard.
Yeah, we can take a look at it together. And obviously, to the extent that things have happened that have required any delay at all, we can report.
So actually,
specifically on
Derek,
what
one
they
thing I guess I heard because of my own error, please, report back to Diana, and Diana will send it out to the committee. Please find out from someone, what is the estimated date of Baldwin being completed?
You got it.
Please get that. Ms. Benoit, go ahead.
So it is my understanding that it is September 2025.
Oh.
And Shawna is here. Can you tell us how far behind we are right now?
Yes. Didn't want to interrupt. So there was a delay in the design from RIDE. RIDE had to redesign the whole building. And that's the last time we came to you folks and said that there was a delay in the design. We had to redesign the building. We made it smaller. We went through all those value engineering that they went over earlier. And that date, was somewhere around Thanksgiving. Then the funding piece came in and pushed it out a little more. So the last update we gave was April of 25. That was the last update we gave, April of 25. So we're still on track for around May, June of 25. We're certainly on track to finish by 25 September. But the construction phase did not change. We have 18 months to build a building. That's how long it's going to take to build a building. But we encountered all these delays really through RIDE and that process. You know, you think you have a building, they approve it, then you go in for the last phase and they change the building again. No, and then we came up with the mechanical issue at Winters. We had to change our whole mechanical system. But when you change the whole, because we were gonna do the same system that was at Winters, and no one wanted that system for obvious reasons. So we had to go do structural over. We had to redo the roof and make sure that, you know, we had a big heavy construction on the roof. We had to eliminate that or make changes to that. So it was really not construction, all those pieces that, you know, and believe me, we're out there, we have a ground open, we want to get, you know, the machines in the ground and get this built. But I can tell you, we're sticking to the 18-month construction schedule. Okay, it's just everything else that delayed that for us. We were to the point where, you know, what do? We're out here, we're sitting out here waiting for RIDE to make decisions. The last thing we want to do is start over. So we're hopeful with the RTAs that were approved tonight, we can start digging, and that's the key. The foundation's in the ground, and then we'll do the best we can, you know, to shorten that duration, which I think we can. But we're being a little conservative right now. I can tell you, it's not gonna happen what happened that week. We'll finish on time. We'll get the building open when we tell you we're gonna open it. And as far as the budget goes, we're working diligently on our end. We just had a $200,000 savings in those 3 RTAs. So we're trending in the right position, but we have no control over the inflation. Just the MEPs from SDs to DDs, from schematic design to DDs that you saw, went up 9%. That's electrical, mechanical, and plumbing. Went up 9%. Architecturally, we're right on budget. But those, we can't get, it's supply and demand. You can't get anything. So everybody's price is sky high. Electrical, panels, all that's why we're gonna be asking for another set of RTAs to release some of that electrical equipment. Because we're looking at 60 weeks for some of that stuff. So it's not really, it's all the stuff that leads up to the construction. Construction is on point. We're gonna be on time. We had 18 months when we came here and interviewed. We're gonna finish the project in 18 months. It's just, where does that 18 months fall? Where does it stop? We started the demolition thinking we were gonna be in great shape. Hindsight, we would have waited to start the demolition. We needed activity, everything was going great, and then put on the brakes. Oh, we're gonna change this, we're gonna change that. And winters happen. Oh, God, we can't have that system, change that. So, we're working hard. The whole team is working really hard to get us in the ground, on time, on budget.
Did you have another? Go ahead, Mr. Charbonneau.
I don't doubt anybody's working hard and all of that stuff. And my frustration is that I'm sitting here as a member of this school committee, finding out tonight that this thing's a year delayed for the first time. When are we gonna plan on communicating that to the Baldwin community and the residents over there?
I'm happy for my slip of the tongue now, as the deputy chair said. I threw that out there, not know. So,
Mr. Chairman, I don't mean to interrupt, but I've talked at meeting after meeting about members of this committee knowing things that other members don't know, and I don't think that there's an open line of communication here, and this proves it. And
no, you're right.
I've
So
said enough.
can we know, so is April 25 the date?
So what I would say, again, certainly I respect and trust your builder. I would like time respectfully to go back and talk to the team and actually give you data from the OPM perspective. I cannot give you what I believe to be accurate information, having not done any of the prep work, but we will, and I will.
I know.
But the chairwoman of the facilities committee is confident that it's September of 25. So,
what I have been told by Jared.
okay, so,
Ah.
but that's my point, Joanne. So it's our partners are telling some of us something.
Yeah, that needs, if they know that this is as delayed as it is, that needed to be. Can we get a report on the opening, please?
Happy
On
to.
it. Thank you. All right. Any discussion back to design, letter D? Design, development, review, and approval to submit to RIDE. Any discussion? Go. Okay.
Yeah, so if you're interested, earlier this evening, the facilities committee had the opportunity to take a look at a presentation of what specifically the design now is and those documents. I believe Corrado is still here to be able to give that presentation if you'd like, so that you see kind of where we are with the design itself and what'll be going forward to RIDE. So it takes a minute, but if there's interest, we're happy to have them do that. for you.
Yes.
Robert, I think I'm gonna need you. Thank you. Good evening. My name's Louis Torado. I'm president of Torado Architects. With me is Robert Stack. He's vice president at our office. I have been asked to give you a brief presentation on our design development, mainly highlighting the difference between the schematic design and the design development. I think what might be more appropriate, given the group, is if I go back and just give you a general design description of what we have been through. The Baldwin Elementary School is a 5-track elementary school, including grades pre-K through 5. When we talk about the number of tracks, we mean the number of classrooms in each grade. Initially, the pre-K was just 2 classrooms. And so the added pre-K scope that Derek talked about was that it was made a 5-track pre-K, consistent to be a feeder for the rest of the school. Okay, next, please. So this is the site plan. Whitman Street is located here. Randall Street is up here. And then the main entrance to the building is on Sisson Street. So at that main entrance access point, you have the parent drop-off. You also have visitor parking. You will see by the interior design of the building that the building's broken up into small cohorts. One of them is the pre-K and the K wings. Those are located here and here, and they have their own entrance and exit points and associated drop-off points. We talked a little bit about, it was mentioned about playgrounds. There's 3 play areas, each associated with each cohort. So at the top of the drawing, you have the K through 2nd grade play area. Then next to the pre-K, you have the pre-K play area. And then in this large field, you have the 3 to 5. Now, the kind of the heart and the center of the school is this courtyard. That is for recess and outdoor learning area. These play fields are part of the base bid. They're being designed right now and bid out. What is right now outside of the current base bid is the playground equipment. So the playground equipment for the K through 12 and for the pre-K is what would be bid as an alternate at this point. We've continued to design it and we'll continue to work on that. The 3-5 play area is more of a play field, more of a regular play field. So, okay, next slide, please.
The 3 to 5 play area initially wasn't that flopped with the recess area? Wasn't that 3 to 5 play area initially going to be a field and a welcoming? I think at one point we had images of a soccer net up there.
What we had was, we've always had the K2 up there. We used to have the pre-K inside the courtyard. But that was felt it was more appropriate for a recess play area. And so the pre-K was moved next to where the pre-K wing is. I think that 3rd and 5th grade play area was the one that at one time was lined as a soccer field.
Right.
But that has always been that location.
Okay.
Okay, so the first floor, as I mentioned, the main entrance is located here. On the right-hand side, you have the administration area and nurses suite. And on the left-hand side, you have the media center. It's designed in a way to allow maximum community access while providing security for the academic portion of the wing. So this would allow after-hour access to the media center, and then also easy access to the cafetorium and gymnasium. That is That is located, Robert, if you could find the cafetorium is located here and the gymnasium is located here, kind of in between both academic wings. As I mentioned, it's designed in a way to combine and create small learning communities. So we combined all of the first grades together, the second grades together, and so forth. Along with each one of these houses, as we call them, we include a learning commons where this is kind of like the main theme of 21st century learning, that you create these family rooms, if you will, where collaboration and multi-team teaching takes place. So each one of these cohorts of each grade has a small learning common. So as we go through the first floor, we have the location for the pre-K wing there, and then on the upper leg you have the first grade, no, I'm sorry, the kindergarten and first grade. Each of these houses also have association with their own restroom areas and also teacher planning rooms. Okay, and then if we go to the second floor, basically it's the same arrangement around this central stair that gets you easy access to the core spaces from each one of the wings. And each one of these wings, again, have their own learning commons, which you'll be able to see shortly in a video presentation that we have. Next, please. And this is the perspective of the entrance, of the main entrance to the building. You'll see a little bit more detail of the Baldwin Eagle, as we call it, the entrance canopy, but it clearly identifies the main entrance to the building. On one side, you'll have the administration, and on the other side, you'll have the media center, which we think will be kind of like the beacon for the community and community access to the building. The building is mostly masonry. What is not masonry is these bands of colored material. One of the value engineering items that we're going through is trying to exactly identify what that is. But we just thought that it would have enough of a color flair to identify it as an elementary school, that the kids would respond and have a lot of fun accessing. Next, please. This is the Baldwin Eagle, as we call it, the entrance canopy to the entrance of the building. And it leads you into a little bit of our wow space, which is an entry atrium, which is 2-story and overlooked by some of the special spaces. Next one, please. This is the kindergarten and pre-kindergarten entrance, direct parent access, easy pickup and drop off, and also easy circulation within the building. Next one. This is the inside of the media center, the learning commons. We introduce some colored glass, again, to create a fun atmosphere, interest of an elementary school. We create these reading nooks that you see in these spaces that pop in. And also you have the storytelling stairs that you see some of them on the right-hand side. Next. This is the entrance lobby. It's a 2-story space. On the left-hand side, you have a welcoming administration counter that's there that will be open. We also provide a curtain, a security curtain that closes that area after school. You have a welcoming area on the right-hand side with soft seating. And then you have some transparency. We will be providing shading for all the window glass, but that lets you peek into what happens inside the building and the teaching spaces. Next. Typical classroom module, very efficient, set up to have multiple teaching modes and learning modes. It does have connecting doors, a pair of connecting doors for each one of the learning studios. Next. And then just wanted to brief you on some of the value engineering items that we've discussed. On the upper left-hand corner, you have a picture of a building that our associate architect, Jonathan Levy, designed. One of the value-saving items is that at the back of the building, where the receiving area is, we propose to using a colored split face block. Phew, I was able to get that out. It again is kind of a back of the house. We will still be providing an attractive split face block that Wright suggests we work into some sort of a pattern. The other big change that we've experienced is in the mechanical systems. At the very beginning of the project, we went through the analysis of investigating a number of mechanical systems. The one that was selected was a displacement system because it has just, we think, the optimum student benefit system in that it provides a lot of constant, slow, fresh air that it's kind of circulated by the warmth in the space, and that it's fed from low in the space, and then it rises and it's sucked up from above. Wright really encouraged us and encourages every district to move to a VRF system, mainly because they are very easy to be 100% electric, and they're very big fans of all electric buildings. So in the design development, we're going back to the displacement system, mostly because of the concern that was expressed here in Pawtucket, but it also saves a lot of money. So it's kind of like a no-brainer for us. So that's the other big change that we have. I have our electrical, mechanical, and plumbing engineer with us tonight in case there's more specific questions that you want to address with this item. Okay, next, please. Okay, and this is the video of the approach to the building. Again, you see just a splatter of color that's expressed in the panels and in the windows, and then the walk up to the Baldwin Eagle and the entrance vestibule. You'll go through a security vestibule, and then when you come in, a lot of transparency into the media center. Do you see here the reading area? Beautiful colored glass. And then you go down the main cross corridor that leads you into the cafetorium. It's a cafetorium because it provides, it works as a cafeteria, but also you see the stage platform in the back, so it would be also as an auditorium. That space is a two-story space. You connect the second floor to the first floor through many stairs, but the main one is this one that overlooks the main courtyard of the building, the recess area, the outdoor learning space. And then from this connector, you walk across and you'll be able to oversee the cafetorium below. At this end of the corridor, we go towards the two-story space entrance, but you also get to, well, we are going to go straight. So this is what you would see from the second floor overlooking that entrance vestibule. And then when you move down the corridor, you encounter these learning commons, very flexible teaching spaces, again, where the whole cohort can work together. So that basically describes the state of the design development. Our package includes 245 drawings, detailed site plans, structural, mechanical, electrical plans. So it's a very comprehensive package, and we're very excited to be able to submit that to Wright and move forward. As it was mentioned, early packages have been issued. Our engineers and us have been working on providing early packages for the structural, for the foundation, for the site. And so we're very happy with Sherman Construction to be moving forward on that fast track base. Any questions or comments?
A little bit to where you could look over to the main lobby. It was just, are you able to do that? What does that look like actually? Like how, is it open like that with a railing, and how high is that? I don't know.
No,
it just looks-
so
what does that
it's
look
not,
like?
it's not open like that. I think that what the final design, the construction document phase will be a glass wall, full height, with some sort of semblance of a rail so that you know you're not walking through to the other space, but that also controls that. But it would be an enclosed, yes, but as transparent as possible also.
Louis, one question on the HVAC system that you indicated this displacement is better suited for kids, but we didn't use the displacement at Winters and we built that first. So is the unit we put at Winters better for kids? We're just not doing it because we had a problem, or is
There are many benefits to each one of the systems. I am really glad that you asked this question because I'm glad that I asked Sean. There you are, here, and he's been here for 2 meetings. But I say it's better because in a VRF system, they're like split system units that go on the ceilings, and you're blowing air, either hot or cold, down on the students. The other one, I'm gonna let you.
no?
Hi, everybody. My name's Sean Strassel. I'm the mechanical engineer for this project. As far as displacement and versus any traditional overhead type system, really the benefit, which Louis actually kind of touched upon a little bit, is that you're delivering air low, and it's almost filling up the space like you'd fill up a glass of water. With that, you kind of get rid of the inherent mixing that happens throughout a space, meaning it actually it provides the fresh air low, and it actually moves itself up into the space and it helps get rid of contaminants. It doesn't just mix them out throughout the space. It literally displaces it. That's why it's called a displacement system. There's nothing to say that what was provided at Winters is bad or in some other way a lesser system. Fortunately, I don't know exactly what's there, so I can't really speak too much to that. I can only really kind of give you some generalities from, an overhead versus what we've proposed, at least originally. And then, we've kind of gone back and forth, but my understanding is we're going to be moving forward with displacement at this point.
Forgive my ignorance on this, but that is not a rooftop, that's not an overhead unit, or?
So you're still going to have a rooftop mounted air handling unit that will be outside. It'll be on your roof. Yep. That'll provide your ventilation and your conditioned air. Similar to what you would do with a VRF system. It's the one thing that it gets tasked with probably more so than the VRF is that's going to also help with your cooling. Whereas when you're using a VRF system, that kind of does your trim cooling in the space. So now you'll be relying on those air diffusers in the space to take care of the cooling load instead of something, an auxiliary piece of equipment in the space.
Okay.
Discussion? Joanne, do you have anything to add to the end? All right, how about, we know the discussion clerk, please call the roll on the review and approval to submit to RIDE.
Ms. Bonello. Ms. Carney. Mr. Charbonneau. Ms. Doobie. Ms. Fernandez. Ms. Grant. Mr. Shalala.
Yes. All right, can I get a motion to approve Baldwin recommendation to award number 4, ground improvements? Approve, motion by Mr. Charbonneau, second by Ms. Bonello, discussion on Baldwin recommendation on ground improvement. Derek, did you want to speak to it?
Happy to give a quick overview. So this one is probably the most peculiar in its presentation, so happy to walk you through it a little bit. The geotechnical engineer, part of the original design documentation, had indicated that based on soil conditions, a fairly sophisticated pier system may be required. In Shawmut's going out to bid of that system, numbers were coming back significantly over budget. And so then it was discussed with the bidders if they would be willing to look at an alternate design to bring us back to a more conventional construction, generate the slight design change that would be required, plus become our engineer of record, and ultimately follow this through. one of the companies agreed to do that, GZA. And so what this is for, rather than the complete services of engineer of record as well as building out of the system, this, if you go further back into the presentation of materials, the $49,050 that you would be approving would be $6,500, which is kind of the nominal fee to make the change to the design, allowing them to use conventional methods, assuming geotechnical engineer of record for $5,000, and then completing all of our special inspections as required as part of the project, which is the bulk of cost and would be required under any system. So this is really design and oversight. The balance of what will be the rest of this package will be carried with other figures that are still due to come in. But moving back to a conventional system that has been signed off on by not only the geotechnical, but structural and other engineers is definitely the way to go in terms of constructability and also budget. So we would recommend that you approve.
Discussion. Discussion, clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Manolo, Ms. Carney, Mr. Charbonneau, Ms. Doobie, Ms. Fernandez, Ms. Grant, Mr. Shallow.
Yes. May I have a motion to approve Baldwin recommendation to award number 5 site work package? Motion by Ms. Spinolo, second by Ms. Grant. Discussion, Derek?
Sure. So I'm happy to kind of go into as much detail as people like, but thinking about high level and how the discourse has gone this evening, hopefully this is the beginning of some very positive news. So this would be an award to Devasio Site Corporation. With that award, we are trending in this case. Let me just make sure I'm looking at the right data set. A savings against what we had budgeted of more than $100,000. So we've already started to decrease kind of our overall need and feel great about that. In the backup, you'll see there's their base bid plus hold and allowances as well as insurance. To the extent that we don't use all of the things that are being held in allowance, that money would come back to you. In this case, the hold really covers things like materials for site access, kind of control to keep things on site and those sorts of things. Allowances are really around the removal of potential contamination in the soil. I'm sure that you all may recall that that's something we certainly experienced at Winters, and so wanted to be prepared in advance here at Baldwin.
Charbonneau?
0% MBE, WB participation from them?
So on this one, there was no MWBE participation. There is significant on one of the awards that'll follow, and overall, I think we are tracking fairly well. But yeah, in this case, there wasn't any.
Okay, I caution out loud that early on in the offerings, we're looking at a $3 million award with 0 MBWE participation. But if you guys are monitoring it, that's fine.
Yeah, we are, and I'll have more good news in that front in just a minute on some of the other RTAs.
Any discussion on the site work package? With none, clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Manolo, Ms. Carney, Mr. Charbonneau, Ms. Doobie, Ms. Fernandez, Ms. Grant, Mr. Shallow.
Yes. I have a correction on that. That was, the motion was made by Ms. Spinolo, seconded by Ms. Connie, not Ms. Grant.
No, I have that.
Okay, good. I have a motion to approve Baldwin recommendation to award number 06, concrete. Motion to approve by Ms. Spinolo, seconded by Ms. Connie. Discussion, Derek?
Sure. So again, high level, this award would go to Jay Marshall. We are under budget by more than $80,000. In this case, there is an 11.2% minority participation. And again, in terms of the line items, there's their base bid holding, which is really related to delays that may result in concrete pours being need to shift around. Potentially, if we had to pick up weekend work, we wanted to make sure we covered those costs. Again, if we don't incur them, that money would come back to you. And then the allowances are based on, where we are in design development. There is potential that we may require a little bit more footing or foundation work or quantity. And so we want to make sure that we capture that so that we're not coming back or minimizing the idea that we might come back with changes. So again, a fairly complete and comprehensive bid, again, and under budget. So we're happy about that.
Discussion, Ms. Grant.
Derek, I know we have allowances and things like that, in this, but is there any concern that, with the inflation of certain things and maybe any problems that could be occurred, that we could go over what the allowances are?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what the allowances are trying to do is buy things that aren't yet fully realized in the drawings. And so we're kind of using that as a way to kind of lessen your risk overall in terms of exposure. In terms of continued inflation, the beauty of basically making these awards now, and obviously they're ultimately subject to RIDE approval as well, because we're having the drawings reviewed, but and so they're part of this process too. But the beauty of locking in these prices now is essentially that's what these subs are committed to, that they will do this scope of work at this price, and we're buying them based on today's market conditions. And we've bid them such that all of these subcontractors who submitted bids and ultimately we selected one, made their own assumptions about how much risk they were willing to take on and what they built in potentially as an inflation. But we shouldn't necessarily see that. That's already built into these numbers, and we've purchased it today. So we shouldn't expect those types of claims coming back. So basically, the sooner we're able to buy things, the better in that regard, because we've locked the prices in.
Okay.
Any other discussion on the concrete? With none, clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Manolo, Ms. Carney, Mr. Charbonneau, Ms. Doobie, Ms. Fernandez, Ms. Grant, Mr. Schley.
Yes. May I please have a motion to approve Baldwin recommendation to award number 07 structural steel?
Excellent. All right. So here's the big, oh, sorry. Great. I got a little excited about this one. So this is the winner of the evening in terms of MWBE participation. We have W participation of 83% on this one, which obviously is a fairly significant number, approximately 2.9 million. In this case, we are under budget by more than $70,000. In this case, no allowances were necessary. There is a hold line item. As you'll see in the backup, things are categorized as yes, no, whether they've made it into the base or not, what might be an allowance, what might be a hold, what some other notes may be. In this case, if you were to look at the backup, and this would be true of any of these, the hold is really meant to incorporate changes that are necessary as part of the shop drawing review process and the ultimate like field measurements and fabrication of steel, as well as any on-site treatment, repair, painting, touch-up that may be required. So there's some things held aside to cover those costs. But again, a pretty complete package with, in this case, very high MWBE participation, and again, under budget. So in terms of the budget discussion we had earlier this evening, we have a ways to go. In terms of our buyout, so far in every case, we've lessened that gap, and we hope that story will continue.
Discussion, Mr. Charbonneau.
Derek, is it, I mean, can we look at it as the steel that, what we paid at Winters for steel versus what we're paying at Baldwin for steel? I mean, is it that's simple? I'm just curious how this price relates to
Would
what we paid for
compare.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make sure, since the builder is in the room, that I'm correct in my response in terms of what this encompasses. But then depending upon what that answer is, well, in any case, really, we could do an analysis. I can't say that I've done that analysis yet, but it would be possible to run the analysis against kind of what market conditions have been with steel, and then by tonnage, typically what we paid at Winters versus what we're paying here. But
But he doesn't have to do that.
But I,
Okay. Did you hear what? Should I repeat it?
go ahead.
The other thing to consider is the massing of the buildings. Baldwin is a two-story building. Winters was a three-story building, so there's inherent difference in the structural systems used for each one. It wouldn't be applicable to really compare the structural systems directly.
Okay. The only way you could compare that is by tonnage. If you look at the comparing pricing, you would have to know the tonnage that you purchased at Winters and then the tonnage that you're purchasing at Baldwin and compare the price per ton. It's pretty much how steel is in the market. I can tell you that steel's up 12% from the time that it's actually up higher, but it's up now, it's up 12% from probably when you purchased Winters. So steel's a commodity that goes up. and down.
The reason I asked, Gordon, is because I recall the Winters number being pretty significantly more than Baldwin. And I get that Winters is 3 and Baldwin's 2.
And probably at that time, steel was way up. Steel was up probably 30% at that time when you purchased the steel for Winters, I'm guessing. I know we're running into that.
Steel's up this,
It's up 12 now, but it was probably up 30 then.
got it,
Yeah.
okay, so
It
it's not
came
an
down-
additional
it
12.
came down and now it's creeping back up again. Steel goes it's a commodity, so it goes it's up and down all the time.
Okay.
But I would have to know the tonnage that you had there and then I could compare it.
Any other discussion on the steel, structural steel? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Bonolo. Ms. Carney. Mr. Charbonneau. Ms. Doobie. Ms. Fernandez. Ms. Grant. Mr. Shallow.
Yes. May I please have a motion approval for Baldwin Elementary project, labor agreement, the project for labor agreement. Can I have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Ms. Spinolo, seconded by Deputy Chair Grant and Ms. Doobie. Discussion. Ms. Spinolo?
The town lead's office on this, there were a few stipulations that I wanted in here. One was that, before we took possession of the building, that all commissioning had to be done. So there would be no delays. While they can't use the word commissioning, they did agree and they put it in writing that there would be no delays. They've also given us the ability to have minutes of their monthly meetings. They will be provided to us. And the third thing, I forget what the third thing is, so.
Yes, there's, I think the third thing that might be missing from Ms. Bonolo's summary there. We have, see here, something that existed in the last PLA that we inserted here again, the last facilities subcommittee asked for it to be included, which was having a partnership again within the PLA with Building Futures partnership that will afford opportunities for Pawtucket school grads, either new or previous grads, to participate in the trades in the building of the building. It's 15% goal overall of labor hours has been set by the agreement. It is a goal, but that is just kind of going backwards a little bit. We have something new that's in this PLA. It's in section 16 or article 16, if you want to refer to it, that is unique to this PLA versus any other, which is that of the three parties that are part of this agreement, organized labor, the general contractor, and the district, there is an agreement that regardless of any issues that may occur, that they're going to abide by the deadlines that we have. Deadlines are set by the state that we need to meet. The benefit of the PLA in general, as many of you already know, is that it sets in a lot of bilateral agreements between contractors and organized labor in order to streamline any conflict and conflict resolution that may come up during the course of the project. One of the things that are new, again, within this Article 16 of the agreement, is that there's a formation of a joint committee that Ms. Bonola was referring to, the joint committee is to meet regularly. And if there is some kind of issue coming down the road that might cause delay, they need to inform the school committee in writing of that issue. Nobody aside from this district could make, aside from the school committee, could make decisions that will alter the timeline that's set in place by the PLA. So the idea is they give us in writing some issue, and if there is a decision to be made that might change that deadline, the committee would be the one to make that decision. See here, the only other thing I think that went without mention is that when it comes to MBE and WBE, there is a 10% agreement within the PLA that labor will meet that or meet that goal as well to kind of satisfy our overall needs to meet MBE and WBE requirements. I believe that is all, but I do have, would be available to any questions on it. You have the copy of the PLA before you. It is consistent with the PLA study that was commissioned and done. And believe as early as today, Dylan was working on this and hammering out some of the details. He's been the primary person in the office doing this PLA and others. But that last section, that section 16 that I was referring to, is very unique to Pawtucket. I feel like Dylan had indicated of the 14 or so that our office has been doing, this is the first time that such a provision is in there. And those are based on concessions that both, all parties have made to meet the what is understood as guidelines that are beyond our control that we need to meet as a district. So, Mr. Oh.
Yeah, the Labor Management Cooperative Committee sounds like a third or fourth facility subcommittee that's going to meet periodically, but not less than once every month to discuss the project, and any of us can show up. I guess what's the rationale for that? Or how efficient or effective is that?
So one of the issues that apparently, that we have learned from experience in our last project over at Winters is some delays that the committee didn't have an opportunity to react to. It was just the fact that certain materials weren't purchased. There wasn't updates regarding scheduling until it was an issue that was unavoidable. And so the idea of this joint commission is that all the parties are getting together, reporting to one another. It may also serve as a basis to resolve any issues that they may have had, to kind of avoid some of the conflict resolution provisions already in here that could be smoothed over. If there is some concern from the school committee or the building committee, subcommittees, that could be sent directly to all the players involved, where I know where they're going to be. And if there is any issues that come up that may result in further delays of the project, at that point, that joint committee is going to be able to, certainly if they can't resolve that issue, at that point, that's going to result into a memorialized document, a written document, giving notice to the committee what the issue is about a possible delay. And then again, as I indicated before, the only person that can make, or the only entity that can make a decision that might alter our deadlines or schedules would be the school committee. So they have to provide us in writing what the issues are, what our options are, and before anybody makes a decision, the school committee would have the ability to make that decision. And so the idea is, it is another layer. Mr. Chairman, I get the concern, but this would probably be the best way. And Ms. Vanolo and Dylan, we're working on finding best practices to be able to make sure we get ahead of any issues in consultation with the other parties that are part of this agreement. They kind of settled that this would be the way of going about that.
Right. No, I appreciate the explanation. I don't agree, however. I think this committee, we have a project management team in place that we pay a significant sum of money to. We have a general contractor in place that we pay a significant amount of money to. We've secured the staffing through a PLA with the laborers union. I just think at times we have meetings to have meetings and that's how things get sideways. So if the first meeting takes place and if Ms. Manolo attends and says that she wants something changed and who's ever at the meeting decides if that's their realm, they change it. Where are we at that point?
So the only thing I would say to that is that if there is any, there can't be any unilateral decisions to alter either the project at this meeting or to alter anything or do anything that might alter the deadlines that they've agreed to or set to by this agreement. And so at this point, it's more of a check-in and making sure everyone's on the same page. And if issues do arise, there's already something set to be able to either hash it out, resolve it, or if there is, there's 3 or 4 options that are available and there's no good option, all that might result in some kind of delay to some different degree, then that would be the ability to get that before whatever written document that gets provided to the committee. It would be from this joint committee to be able to say, all right, these are the issues, these are the variables. We're going to submit this report to the school committee and make a decision thereafter. It's a mechanism to ensure one of that other provision that I was referring to, where
Right.
you are best informed as far as what your options are. If there is a delay, knock on wood that there's the case, what your options are, and the decision is not that joint committee, but it comes back to the school committee to decide what direction we should take the project.
Right.
in.
I get it. I get
Yeah.
it. All I'm saying is this committee took a vote to enter into a project labor agreement.
Mhm.
This committee took a vote and said, yep, we authorized Attorney Conley's office to create the PLA. We said that there is a template that they were going to use. And then one member of the committee has inserted certain sections that she wanted in there. I wasn't given the opportunity to add sections that I may want in there. Or other members of the committee, maybe they were asked if there was a section they wanted to add or edit. But this is all brand new language based off the opinion of one committee member. And it's in the PLA. That's my problem. That's the larger problem of what I've been talking about tonight and in previous week. That's not how we should operate.
Either.
It
You
was,
just presented it.
Are you, Dunja, do you want him to answer? that-
no, I
that
mean,
statement? All right.
unless I'm misunderstanding what you're saying, that's what happened.
I can't say exactly, Ms. Charbonneau, how that came to be. I do know that, and because I was assisting Dylan to some degree, that before that made it into the document before the school committee, the other parties were consulted as well about how best to go about what I would summarize as time management or time accountability, schedule accountability. And that's kind of where the genesis of this joint committee came. So I'm not entirely sure if that was a direct ask or the issue itself was asked to be addressed. And that was ultimately what came in part of the PLA. It is a new section, so I'm in agreement there.
Ms. Manolo, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
It was not a direct ask. It was something that Dylan told me that he put in so the school committee could remain aware. As far as I know, the people who would be in attendance at that meeting would be Shawmut, any contractors, Colliers, and our director of facility. Aside from that, any other people that would be at that committee, not to my knowledge.
But we're all able to attend.
We are all able to attend. However, those are the people that are specifically to be at that meeting. And from that meeting, we are supposed to receive a report of any changes, any problems, any difficulties. In other words, it's giving more transparency to what's happening that we didn't have when it was happening at Winter. So I didn't put this in. This was not my ask. This was Dylan put it in. What I wanted put in was when we had all our problems at Winters, and first it was the fire system, and then it was the coil. It was because we didn't have commissioning done before we entered the building. And that was because they ran behind, and they kept putting things off and rescheduling them. I didn't want that to happen again, so I said, can we guarantee that there will be commissioning and everything will be done before we go into the building? And that is when he put in the other management rights that were there to be something that would happen, we would have to be notified, and they could not go on their way and just do it without notifying the school committee as a whole first, if there was a problem.
If we had not had the commission, we didn't have the commissioning done for the first day of school for Winters. And so in other words, the building, if I'm clear on this, our people were not able to fix the systems and run the systems in the school buildings. And instead, the people who designed and built those systems were the ones running it, and basically doing anything that might need to be tweaked. But if we had waited until we were fully commissioned, we wouldn't have had the kids in the building on time. So are we possibly setting ourselves up where if we have some commissioning that gets delayed because of a scheduling thing, we can't open the school on time, even though it could be serviced by the people who have designed the system and the kids could be in the building? Is that a concern that came up when this conversation happened?
Well, my concern that when this conversation happened, my concern was I had just been told that they had projected the opening to be September 2025. And I said, if you're going to turn around and take a full year as far as your delays go, then when we open our doors, everything should be fully commissioned. And we shouldn't have any opportunity to have something like Winters happen at Baldwin. And that's what I thought. And this is what they came up with as an alternative.
That's right.
I guess I'm a little confused when you say when you say that it won't happen at Baldwin, that happened with Winters. I'm not sure what you mean, what happened, because it seems like what we were told was it was a defect from the company. So no one can guarantee us that there's not going to be a defect. So I'm just looking for clarification. I'm just not sure.
So the wires were reversed at Winters.
It was a defect from the.
So in the commissioning, to my knowledge, John Cody, that would have been found during the commissioning.
The full commissioning wasn't finished in the fall of last year. They keep saying that we were delaying things. I just refused to have any kind of training on the system because I knew the commissioning wasn't finished. Going back to late January, they still hadn't finished the commissioning. That's why I still delayed or just said I didn't want training to that point because I didn't feel comfortable with it. And then in February, that's when we had the issue.
Sorry for the interruption. So if I could, as part of the Winters update that's happening later this evening, we do actually have one of the Colliers commissioning professionals here this evening. So if you want a kind of a technical response to this question, I'm happy to have him provide it.
That's appropriate at this time. We're not asking that. We're asking a specific question that Ms. Bonola brought up that Kim wants answered on commission, and will it delay, and it's basically,
Okay.
is there gonna be a delay to to piggyback on Erin's question, isn't that
Well-
based on what you're asking?
Well, I guess what I'm asking is, it was a defect from the place. So we're not gonna open, or I would assume, we're not gonna ask our contractors every single thing they put in. I'll use this for an example. I buy a car. I don't ask them to take the battery out and take it all apart to make sure whatever's inside that battery is okay. I might look in the car and make sure the battery's set up correctly, but that's what, like I said, I'm just trying to find out what you're looking for. And it looks like what you're trying to do, or it looks like what you're trying to say, and I'm only taking off of Mr. Cody's situation, is what you asked Mr. Cody is, we're not going to go further and just dissect things, to dissect things.
To make sure the heat works, make sure the AC works, make sure the fire system works. They're going to check the commissioning. Before we take over a building, they have to commission it, and they have to make sure everything works. That was done after we put students in the building.
Right.
Or right
but-
before.
But we
So,
could
yes,
still
things could
have,
still happen.
we could still have it. That's
However-
all I'm saying, that anything could happen at any time. Nothing's a guarantee.
Right, but this was just one safeguard to try to avert.
I
any-
think I worry because I think what happens is, I think, like I said, I think we pay a lot of people a lot of money. And I think that, yes, there are instances that happen, but I think we need to trust the companies that we hire. And if we don't trust the companies that we hire, like I said, at the end of this, we found out that it was a defect from the company from wherever they are. It was really, if that's the truth and that's what it is, it wasn't really anyone's fault. No one could have helped that. But I think we do pay Colliers a lot of money to manage our projects for them. And we have facilities, they come to facilities and then they come to our meeting. I don't think we need to continuously micromanage every single part of everything, because I think what happens is the trust gets lost. And I think it just gets too many hands in the pot, and we need to leave it to the people who are experts, because that's why we pay them the money to do it.
They are commissioning before they go into the building, that's all.
And can on this topic, can someone answer me? Jay, you brought up a great point on this joint labor management. We got a slippery slope if all committee members are invited to go and 4 of us show up that we didn't speak to each other. Now we have to post a meeting. That's why, do we have an answer on that? I know it says a scheduled meeting,
Sure.
but now where's the other layer that we're gonna have to talk amongst ourselves to say if 4 of us show up, the meeting has to get canceled.
I just want to, just to go back a little bit, I want to answer that question,
Yeah.
Chair. A couple of things. One, this wasn't just an insert that Dylan Conley put into this agreement. This was after conversation and consulting with other parties that are part of this agreement as well. Both organized labor made a number of requests, manage the contractors, all the parties, the 3 parties, main parties, including on behalf of the school committee, kind of came to this language. Mr. Conley representing the interest of the school committee that arrived to this. So I mean, I do hear the concerns of micromanaging the players. The reality is that this was something that the players have agreed to might be the best way to make sure that they're all getting together and they're on track. The purpose of these meetings are not to substantially change the project. The goal of these meetings is to make sure that everyone is working well together. And so there's minutes being produced, and Ms. Bonola did mention this, and I'm glad that she did because I forgot. Although she mentioned it originally, and it's in the language, that the minutes will be forwarded to the committee. So at this point, if everything's going well, the committee is going to get the minutes reflecting that everything's going well. And if there's concerns that are raised, even if they are, out of abundance of caution, something that somebody is estimating or fearful of, the committee will know well in advance before it becomes an issue. So that was the purpose of having the minutes transferred to the committee on a regular basis. As far as, concerns about too many committee members showing up and the idea of an informal convening of the body showing up and concerns of quorum, the intention wasn't to have school committee members necessarily showing up at every single meeting. They're free to do so. But that's not necessarily the point of this. The point is not to come in and say, hey, I have an issue. Committee member has an issue with the project or direction of the project. The same procedures that are in place would presumably be in place. We have a subcommittee, we have regular meetings, we have special meetings, we have ability to put things on agenda, to talk about them in open session, if need be in closed session. That's still a process for the school committee. But in addition to that, you will have minutes from the beginning of the project to the end of the project, where all the main players who are on scene reporting back as to what's being done, whether everything's going well. Hopefully, these are very short meetings. Everything's going well, everything's going well. Everyone goes separate ways. It might just be, hey, you need to move your trucks. Neighbors are complaining. Okay, sure, no problem. And so this isn't micromanaging the players involved, the folks that are on the ground. In fact, this is an idea crafted by those folks to make sure that the length of the project goes by seamlessly. So I do think that's a legitimate concern. I think that everyone here is well versed with what's required of them with OMA. And if there's any questions or concerns, you can certainly reach out to our office. And we could answer accordingly, but it is like any other, of the many variables you folks have to contend to as members of this public body that we'll have to deal with on a case-to-case basis.
Okay, any other discussion on the Baldwin Elementary Project waiver agreement? Hearing no other discussion, clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Manolo, Ms. Carney, Mr. Shabno, Ms. Doobie, Ms. Fernandez, Ms. Grant, Mr. Shalal.
Yes. All right, discussion items. First one up. For discussion, Northern Rhode Island Collaborative update. Superintendent, the floor is yours.
Okay, with the school committee's permission, I'm going to give the update tonight. Dr. Andre is busy teaching a paraprofessional course tonight. Okay. As of February 1st, 16 Pawtucket students were enrolled in the Northern Rhode Island Collaborative. As of today, 3 students are pending placements for the 23-24 school year. The IEP team is determining the appropriate placement for each of these students. Referrals are submitted, and we are in the process of touring the programs with the student family to ensure appropriate placement. All of the placements are secured for the 23-24 school year. So there are 3 students right now that we have pending placements. The Pawtucket School Department is also partnering with neighboring LEAs to supply extended school year services for all of the students, and that is in place right now. So all the students will be receiving the services that they require over the summer. In closing, I would like to say that the Pawtucket School Department is working very closely with the Northern Rhode Island Collaborative and our families. We want to express our sincere gratitude and appreciation to the faculty and the staff, as well as the special ed director, Joseph Renzi, for working closely with our students and their families to ensure our students will continue to receive an appropriate continuum of services based on each student's individual education plan, and most importantly, without disruption. These updates that I put in front of you, this is over a series of 3 or 4 meetings with Dr. Andre, and that's where we are at this point in time. Yep.
So I just have a couple of questions. So, I don't know, what the conversations are with RIDE. But in the legislatures, but it does sound that, like the school and the unions are working with RIDE. I know we wouldn't, Pawtucket on our own be able to, send our students there and keep a program alive, because I would think that tuition would just be based on those 18 students, and it wouldn't be. But someone would have to educate me on that. But I don't understand if they are working on it. It doesn't seem, and I could be wrong, because we haven't had big conversations about this. I know at the last meeting that it was on our agenda, I did ask acting superintendent to be a cheerleader for a district. Never received an update on that. And with what you're saying this evening, it's sounding like it possibly wasn't done. But why can't we sit with them and try to find out? They're asking us to extend for a year. So on a whole, we all know it would benefit the students. But why can't we just give them that opportunity to sit and talk with them? And, I'm disappointed. I had to ask for this to be on the agenda tonight. I don't know if it would have been if I didn't, but I do know the previous acting superintendent has not placed it on since we had discussed it. But it just seems like we have until the end of the year, the school year. So why can't we kind of work with them, work with RIDE? If it is indeed true that RIDE wants this to work out, then why isn't everyone getting together to try to make it work out? I understand at one time there were some financial situations. I was not at the meeting when they voted to pull out, but I do know that it was stated at the last meeting we discussed about this, that those financial concerns are not there anymore. So I don't understand why we just don't try to work with them. We have about a month, a little over a month, and I think it would, I think it would be a peace of mind for the parents, the employees, of course, and I think for the students. Change isn't change. No one likes change, but for a child with special needs, change, especially the ones who are older, change so late in the game in their life is, it could be traumatizing, and these students are familiar with their surrounding, their teachers. As we heard at that last meeting with public participation, we heard parents state, what happened when the students were here as opposed to where they are now, and how the differences are. And like I said, it disappoints me that, and the reason I say I feel the ball was kind of dropped, because again, this is the first update, since we talked about it. And it seems like we're kind of in the same place. Yep, it's just going to go away. But it's about the kids. And I think we all say we do this for the kids. And I think we need to do it for the kids, not just the typical kids, not for all kids, because I really do think it could benefit. And I would just like to recommend to the superintendent that, you guys reach out to the Northern Collaborative, to RIDE, maybe set up a meeting and just have a conversation, you know? I was the one who said at the last meeting, we could champion this. We could be the ones that bring everyone together and say, hey, they're asking for 1 year. They're asking for an extension. If we can't make it work in a year, then we dissolve it. But, we have some kids who go there. This is their senior year. And then they were going to stay and go into their transition. And now they got to get used to another place. And there's some kids who are probably juniors, and next year would be the year they would graduate. I just really do think that we should really give it a shot. It doesn't hurt to have a conversation, and that's all I have to say.
I mean, and Superintendent Mercer, not not directed towards you, but I was under a similar impression. We were told the reason for us pulling out of Northern Rhode Island Collaborative was an insurance issue. And then a meeting or two after that, it was discussed in public participation that that insurance issue had been resolved. And I thought that's what this update tonight, because at that meeting, I specifically asked if we were told we were leaving it because there was a lack of insurance. Then we heard that the insurance issue had been resolved. I asked for a follow-up update. I thought that's what this was tonight, but it doesn't seem like that. No,
What I can say is that I will look into your concerns and your reasons and
Okay.
give you another update in 2 weeks at the next meeting. Okay?
Is it possible to reach out to the Northern Collaborative and just meet with their staff and kind of try to find out what's going on? All right, I appreciate that, because I really do think that, like I said, when Kim mentioned up there, or one of the teachers mentioned up there, even if Pawtucket just came back, my first concern is I don't think it would be affordable just because ours would be the only kids that were back. But if we work together, sure.
No, we can't have.
Ron speaks out all the time and answers questions.
Hold on. As I've only been here 4 months. Give me a minute. I've never had Ron ever answer from the floor in my 4 months.
Yes,
That's
you have.
in my
Jim.
4 months, I haven't. Is that true or false, Mr. Deoni? Is that?
Right now,
Yep. Yes.
Yes.
I'm not sure, to answer your original question, that's not how.
And that's fine. That's fine. But I'd just like to ask the superintendent, if you could just reach out to them and find out what the story is. Because like I said, I wasn't at the first meeting. They mentioned the second to us. At the second meeting, Mr. Charbonneau mentioned that he learned information that he was not privy to. And like I said, I asked the acting superintendent to take some initiative and do some stuff. And like I said, we haven't gotten anywhere with it. But I think it's very important that we do look into this. I think it's important for our students. So thank you.
Marcia, you had your hand up.
Can you just run the numbers again? So we had 16 students that were placed there. Okay. So the 13 students that you didn't mention, where are they
They've all
coming?
been placed. So when you say they've all been placed, they've all been placed back here in
All of them.
Okay. I say that because their needs were so high that we couldn't give them, give them what they needed before, but we're bringing them back now because I don't know the individuals. So out of the so there's 3 that still need a school placement come September, and 13 already have a school placement right now, but you just don't know where those placements are. Okay.
So for May 20th, whatever, we would like to have this as we want to follow up on this, but is that okay with you, Superintendent, to make sure?
Discussion action.
I was gonna, I know this was under as discussion when I possibly should have been, but it's only under discussion. I do apologize. I'm just, but this could have been a discussion action, tonight, but we did discussion only, but next month's meeting, we can have discussion action if that's what we choose to do. So we'll talk with that. Yep, no, I'm not. So, all right, good. Any more discussion on Northern Collaborative? All right, thank you. Derek. Did he leave? Oh, I thought he might have. All right, Winters update, please.
Yeah, so I'm going to introduce you to our commissioning agent who's much more technically versed in giving you the update for Winters. So Blair.
Good evening. My name is Blair Richardson. I'm the Director of Commissioning and Energy Services with Colliers. While I might be a new face, I've been involved with this project for quite some time. So as of right now, so just take a step back. The industry accepted standard of care for commissioning, it recommends a 40% sampling rate for repetitive systems. Where we had issues with the VRF system at Winters, it was a recommendation to do 100% testing, functional testing for every control point. As of right now, we're just about 90% complete with the cooling functional performance testing of the VRF systems. Out of 200 control points, we've identified 14 control points being deficient. We've come up with some recommended corrective action. We're coordinating with DMX, the Daikin representative, as well as JCI to get those resolved. Further testing is scheduled over the next 2 weeks, so we'll bring that cooling to 100%. Unfortunately, at this point, the weather prevents us from completing testing of the heating systems, which are approximately 60% completed. We will be providing seasonal testing once we get into colder weather to make sure that all of the heating is 100% operational. In addition to that, we have access to the building management system remotely and are monitoring the system operation on a daily basis. We go in and check the system to make sure that nothing crazy is going on. Some additional integration is being done in coordination with Daikin and JCI to ensure that 100% of the equipment can be seen in the building management system. And that is it.
Any discussion on Winters? All right, thank you, Blair, appreciate it. We're not usually that easy on the Winters update. I saw you walked away smirking. We're not usually that easy, so. Yeah.
It's move on.
Yeah. All right. Oh, now, okay. Darn it.
So you said there were 14 control points that need correction. What kind of control points are you talking about? Is it all in the VSR system? Yeah.
Where we've got the two separate systems that are communicating. The VRF is its own kind of independent entity. And then you've got the building management system, which is comprehensive for the entire building. We identified some control points that the VRF system has that the building management system isn't seeing or isn't reading. And we want to make sure again that the building management system has 100%. That's the complete picture. So facilities can see and control everything through that one interface, as opposed to having to go into the building or basement and get access to the VRF control. So, these are the things that we identify through the commission process to make sure that, operationally, you guys
That's working with the Johnson Controls, right? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Melissa? Discussion items for the monthly vendors report, budget transfer report. Or if the committee doesn't mind, we'll just discuss them all together. All right. Does anyone have a discussion about the monthly report that was provided, the budget transfer, the overtime report, revenue report, or work order summary for April of 2020? No, only go up to revenue report. So C through F. Does anyone have a question for Melissa? Go ahead, Ms. Connie.
Work.
Yeah, yes.
For Gateway Education Holdings, $250,000 installment PD fee and supplies through literacy grant. Just wondering which grant that was and for which program that's supporting. Okay, thank you. I also have another question on the next page for Maxim Healthcare Services Holdings. So it's contracted nursing services. So kind of around the conversation we're having earlier, are we paying monthly contracted nursing services while we would be looking at one-on-ones? Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Oh, yeah, C through F for Melissa right now, then we'll
Sorry.
go on to Joe.
I'm just
John.
gonna continue. I said this last month. I'm gonna say it again this month that for what we spend in overtime is just really surprising to me. So I'm wondering how the next year's budget is calculated. So, we have a revised budget for one school. Let's just say, I'm just gonna use Curtis Custodians for an example of 11,000. Year-to-date expended 17,907, month-to-date overtime 4,083. So when we're looking at that, are we building next year's budget on the 17,917 that we've expended? Or are we going to say at some point, like, we have a $10,000 budget, whereas $17,000 already for this one school? Next year, the budget will be built around the original 10,000.
So to answer your question, so what we do is we have a one-line budget and then we allocate it. It's just through this overtime for maintenance and custodians. And we approve it in a lot of the overtime. And again, I have to, John and Chris handle it, but I could pull reports look at quoting. A lot of the overtime is created because of
Staff shortages. I know.
absences, callbacks, things like that. So
Mhm.
what we do is based on the previous year, we try to spread it out and allocate.
So next year's budget would be built off how much we spent this year, not necessarily what we thought we were going to need for 11th going in.
If there's knowledge when we're looking at this, I'll sit with John, if there's knowledge that whatever that issue is in the building, if that was due to somebody being out or whatever, if that person or employee is not out or there's extra work going on or whatever the case may be, if that's not gonna happen, then no, it won't go back
Okay.
up to the level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's different.
So it's all considered each.
So
each is
each year,
considered.
I sit with John and we'll look at it and say, okay, where do you want?
Okay, thank you.
And again, we might not know, so we kind of move it around, if we need to, but again, at the end of the day, the budget is approved in a whole for all the overtime.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion for Melissa? All right, moving on. Oh, I'm sorry, Jay.
Melissa, the revenue by fund capital projects, I'm sorry, the $220 million bond, 7,994,684. It's on page 3 of that revenue by fund sheet, halfway down.
Oh.
Is that the money that's been? Is that a ban that's been put out?
They bonded last year, so we brought it down. The ban was done with the previous hearing.
Right, well, that's what I'm trying to get to. What was that? Do you remember that band with, so okay, so we've drawn down 7.9 million of the 34?
That's how much I've been booked in that buyback for this year. So the bonds are held on the book, right, and this is just the revenue coming in here. This is the housing unit, I have to dig down to see what kind of revenue.
Okay.
Bond placement is already received as revenue, and we have it now.
Right, but we're booking this as revenue too.
We recognize, we don't, this really isn't carried. So I can look up to that's actually how we.
Okay,
That one I'll need to.
no worries.
Thank you. All right, no other discussion, work order summary, John? Anybody have a question for John about this work order summary? All right. Hirsch, does anyone have a discussion on the letter H enrollment suspension for Hirsch? Do they want him to explain that graph? That data? No? All right. Oh, I was looking.
Ask the current superintendent to continue to provide us with a safe and orderly, the committee at Shea High School has been meeting to address some of the issues there. Could you update us again next meeting? Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Here none, can I have a motion to recess to executive session in accordance with pursuant to in accordance to Rhode Island General Law, pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42-46-5A9 for the purpose of collective bargaining, hearing and or discussion on a grievance for the purpose of discussion and or acting upon personnel, local 1352 grievance hearing. Motion by Mr. Charbonneau, seconded by Ms. Grant and Ms. Doobie. All those in favor? Aye, all those opposed. We're in recess at 10:09. Now that we have reconvened. Oh, okay, are you ready? I didn't know if you needed, Clerk, could you please, can you call out any, clerk, call the roll.
Ms. Carney. Mr. Charbonneau. Ms. Doobie. Ms. Fernandez. Ms. Grant. Mr. Shallow.
Here. Clerk, can you report out any votes taken in executive session?
The committee voted to unanimously seal the executive session minutes and to adjourn the executive session.
No,
Reports.
superintendent, we're not in a workshop. Superintendent, update, if you have one.
Okay, just a few things. First of all, I would love to extend my gratitude to Ricardo Pimentel and all the teachers who were responsible for putting the JMW Arts Night. It was outstanding. It really was. So congratulations to them for a job well done. It was reported to me, they had over 600 people go through here. It was amazing. It was a nice night. Yeah. Yeah. It was on May 3rd. Yeah, it was beautiful. The other thing I wanted to let the committee know that today and Melissa left, but I wanted to announce that Pawtucket was nominated for a Lead by Example Clean Energy Award. And they went down to the State House today. And this program recognizes state agencies, municipal governments, quasi-public agencies, and public schools for implementing clean energy projects and collectively lowering the state's energy use. The district was named as an honoree and given citations for their efforts to lower the state's energy use and promote the use of renewable energy resources. And I would like to recognize the business and the facilities department for their hard work and their ongoing efforts actually in this area. And they received a number of citations today at the State House. So I did want to recognize them for that. And I also want to say that I'm really looking forward to the honors nights and the graduation nights that are coming up pretty soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. School committee member update, Ms. Connie.
No update.
Ms. Pinola. Mr. Charbonneau.
Ask that we put Shay update on the next meeting, please. And good night.
Ms. Dugan.
The superintendent search committee is on track for our May 25th, having a recommendation to this committee to begin consideration and hopefully move forward with an approval, the final candidate in our June meetings.
Great job. Deputy Chair Grant.
I just want to share my condolences to Chris Silva and his family on the passing of his dad yesterday. I know myself and the superintendent know the family very well. And they lost their mom a couple of years ago. And I know that his father's in a better place, but it's never easy. So, I just wanted to share that with you all because I know we all work very closely with Chris. Besides that, have a great night, guys.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I have nothing. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by all in favor? All those opposed? We're adjourned.